So Charlie was born in the Cape. He went to the second best high school in South Africa, Paul Roos. He retired from the South African Air Force as a colonel. He was the OC of 87 Helicopter Flight School in Bloemfontein, and he was also the OC of 16 Squadron. He had a big part to play in the development of the Rooi Valk attack helicopter, probably one of the greatest attack helicopter platforms ever built. Sadly, the world doesn't really know the effectiveness of what was built in those years. He's a DFE-1 in the category helicopter and aircraft. He's a qualified accident investigator. He's a flight safety specialist. He's passionate about flying and has accumulated well over 10,000 hours. He loves instruction. It's his passion. And I'm fortunate to say that he had probably the biggest influence on my flying career and who I am today and who I am as an instructor. Charlie, it's a privilege to have you here with us, and we look forward to listening from you. Thank you.
Shoo. Okay. All right. I see a lot of faces that I do know. I haven't had the chance to say hello to everybody. I'm quite impressed to see that our police aviators are here in force, and then just about everybody else, and I can see some serious main manner sitting in front of me. I was asked to talk about something, and I thought I was going to try and impress you, because if I use big words and big things that you might feel. So I was talking about rotor rage. And I said, when entropy, now wait, whoa, what the hell does entropy mean? It means just the state of chaos. Low entropy means it's not that bad, but a high entropy means that there's a huge problem. Now, I wanted to tackle this machine's accident down in Namibia, and the reason I picked that is not just because I knew the people, all of them involved, ground and air, and it was extremely sad. But let me not get ahead of myself. As you can see, the aircraft is a ZS registered aircraft, and that's the last time you're going to see that, because things would be... Ek druk hierdie, wat het ek nou gedoen? Ek het daar gedruk, en ek druk weer. Right, those are the dunes outside Swakopmund. Now, if you haven't flown there, I'm so sorry for yourself. For you. If you've been to Antarctica and you haven't been in those things, you've still got a little bit of your bucket list left. The 44 self-destructed in flight. Now, obviously, not so obviously, but there were 2 on board and they both died. I can promise you, you don't really have to feel that sorry for them. It was absolutely instantaneous, but I can tell you that the hurt in Swakopmund is still tangible even after all this time. I've got on there the accident site with Swakopmund, and then just a little overlay there with the runway there, and that red dot is where the helicopter came to rest. You want to know about the story? I start off by saying rotor rage. Why did I start the title with rotor rage? I picked the word rage to say, have you got any idea? Now, you probably do. But stand still and think. This thing that's turning above your head is filled with so much energy, kinetic energy and other stuff. It's just a raging bull that wants to get loose. And you're in control. And if you lose that control, that's going to be the one that's going to kill everything around. So, just for a moment, I wanted to say, hey guys, it's a helicopter symposium, what must we say? Hey, helicopter pilots, that's great. I love you all. But you must understand that you are handling look, if I go into a factory and there's an open thing, they shroud it and they put stuff around and they make it safe. They can't make these blades safe. You are in control of an amount of power that is unfathomable. Just use your mind. It's a little bit rough. Entropy, what? It's a measure of chaos. Okay. So, well-operated flight has low entropy, but I say there, but entropy nonetheless. Okay, the physics guys, I think it was Einstein, I believe so, thought of the universe as in stages of chaos. There was never a stage with no chaos. You would only get a very low or the originally very, very low entropy phase, but at the end, the chaos was growing. And that's why I picked entropy taking to flight. Because the moment that we get airborne, that's the interim period between what we have done. Too many talkings and hands. That's the difference between what we've done before we do the accident. Then the accident happens. Nobody plans for the accident. It happens, and in this case, it happened, and it was done. Okay. And then you've got a very prolonged period after that, what's happening afterwards. So we could argue and say that the highest level of entropy happened when the accident happened. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact is, what did we do before the accident, and how did it link to after the accident? And the accident is mere energy transfer, and I'm playing down the word entropy there, and then I say afterwards, the accident is the high entry stage where chaos. So now we've got one of the top advocates here, and I had the absolute pleasure to work with him before, and I'm not saying that because, you've got to give due where due is needed. And his job is to figure out the chaos and make it into a presentable piece of evidence. And this was a serious case, but you're going to be astounded. The stages of interest concerning the accident, I was just saying to capture the chaotic breakdown that occurs in a helicopter, there's 3 stages. The first stage will be the gradual decline in disorder. I should have said the gradual increase in disorder. Because, just think about this. If we stay within our focus of the standard operating procedures and what we do in the run-up, if we stick to that, we are managing everything in an orderly fashion. If we don't do those things, then everything will get into chaos. There can be no synergy. So I agree. Somebody says, it's the chain in the accident causation. There's no chain. It's a boiling pot of chaos. And each piece of chaos interacts with the next one. It's got an absolute synergetic response, meaning that chaos is expanding at a rate that you and I cannot control. And that's why when people is called in to say fix things up, what's the first thing they do is they determine the state of chaos and then they bring everything in line. Oh, all these evil people don't die, there's prosperity and all those lovely things. So then the second thing is, obviously the sudden eruption. This thing hasn't got a pointer, eh? Doesn't matter. All right. It has got a thing that says danger. Okay. Sudden eruption. Well, I'm a chopper pilot, so let's press and see what explodes. The sudden eruption of chaos, that's the crash itself. And I've got this. In this case, I promise you, from the moment that the crash actually, let's call it, started, precipitated in the beginning stages until it was finished, was in a blink of an eye. The one moment they were, the next moment they weren't. Then the devastating aftermath is the consequence of the entropy. And that's the entropy in action. I don't say that that is the maximum level, but you and I must experience that chaos. Okay, I'm going to be blatant. Look, if you didn't do the things right before you go and fly, and you go and fly and you're dead, you're off the hook. So be cool. None of your business after this. Absolutely none. But everybody that stays around is sitting with the absolute fallout of this chaos. In other words, a super expansion of the entropy that you started. Whatever. Okay. Here we go. Getting a bit opgewonden, eh? And the stages of interest concerning capture the chaotic breakdown occurs. The first one, I wanted to see that there is, I think there's one this side as well, so let's say this side. I didn't want to talk about the accident too much, because between you and I can give you a good reason why the helicopter destroyed itself. But it's of no use, because nobody could tell until now what was the actions that led to the destructive sequence. Don't know. But it doesn't really matter because everybody on board is gone. So what happened beforehand is got a direct setup link to the fallout afterwards. My message to the aviation helicopter fraternity, you that are playing with the most energy in hand of any, no man, not the boink. There's more danger in that thing than, anyway, sorry, airline pilots, where you are. But this is not a 747 or A380. Wouldn't mind flying one of those. I don't know. Pucci, where are you? Is Pucci here? Oh, yeah, you are. My goodness gracious. Shows you. All right. No pun in, no. He's actually a helicopter pilot. Okay, so this was just the facade, flying all these other things. Okay, but I also love to fly the things in aerobatics and all that kind of jazz. But there's a direct connection. You, the ones that are alive and that's driving the process. It is your responsibility to contain the entropy levels before you go and fly. Because irrespective if you're alive or dead or maimed or whatever after the case, the entropy is going to involve everybody. It's going to be an utter chaotic state. The pre-accident phase does not mean the accident is a fait accompli. Okay, so a lot of times we do the wrong stuff, we get away with it and we think, oh, that's cool. Well, it's actually not cool. Because you're lucky. Now, I can explain to you that I've been more lucky and it never made me good. If I learned out of that, it still made me lucky, and I was a fool then. But because I'm learning out of that, I can sort of tone down the foolishness little part. But don't be a lucky fool. Oh yes, let me think. If there is any technique that you discover at your age and stage of flight, it is such a big red light that's going up. Because if we couldn't figure that out in the past 100 years, it must make you an alien. Expose yourself. It's like topical, okay? All right. There are therefore two causes of effect sequences. Obviously, the cause and effect for the accident itself. And then after that, the effect, secondly, the cause and the effect after the accident. Because whatever is now the cause will have the negative effects. Thereafter, the effects are either limited to uncontrollable, unlimited. The chaos is not controllable nor dismissible. It's done. Okay, let's just forget it. It's not going to be forgotten. The moment that helicopter crashed, there's families, there's friends, there's businesses, there's... you don't want to be there. Now, those are left after the accident must deal with the physical, emotional, and financial, and I said entropy. I just want you to get that word. You cannot be a chaos creator and a chaos facilitator and a chaos enhancer. We can't. So how you die is not at stake today. It's what do you do before or not do before that will determine what the result will be after. Okay? What did I say? Helicopter needed a 12-year... That helicopter that you saw on the first page was standing somewhere here in a hangar, and it came up for its 12th year, and it was waiting to be sold, and somebody in Namibia bought it. How they exported it, and the papers there, I don't know, but it went there. The AMO on the other side went, and they wanted to register it, and they actually had an aircraft, a Victor 5 tail number that they stripped, and they wanted to use the engine and some of the blades, and some of the stuff that still had hours left to put on that aircraft, and that was a damn fine idea. But the NCAA, or Namibian CAA, didn't like that because it was a 12-year machine. I think they were slightly ill-informed, because buying a 12-year machine is actually fantastic, because not long after that, you can have a new machine. So projection is... okay, never mind. But the helicopter didn't get registered because now there was the spat between the NCAA and the AMO, and then all of a sudden, I think both parties just didn't communicate, and the dealers, the helicopter was never. But now the time came up that they had to do test flights. Aha. But the pilot that could do the test flight only had a Namibian license, and he couldn't fly a ZS machine. No problem. We have asked them to make it a Victor 5, blah, blah, blah. So let's put that Victor 5 number on the tail of the R44, then the pilot can fly it. Now, can you see? Bobble, broil, toil. What was that? Who was that dude? That clever Englishman that could speak so many words that we don't use. We had to do it at school. Somebody in class, Shakespeare. It was rebuilt. Look at this. But most all of the maintenance actions that took place was not recorded. There was a little bit of control over the, this engine comes from there and this from there, but at the end of the day, there was no paperwork. Now, the pot is cooking, and it is. Now comes the pilot. So, I say the gradual decline in disorder, pre-crash, pilot had not enough hours. He had 180 helicopter hours, of which 80 was on an R44. And he's going to do an acceptance test after 12 years. Now, I know in the part 135, they will spell it out. You need a class 2 test pilot rating. Is that a big deal? It is actually a big deal in terms of the insurances. Because when you go, listen to this now, because there's a lot of us sitting here and think that we are absolved. You are not absolved if you accept a machine to test it. Either to do an acceptance test or a flight test. There's a ritual that you have to go through to go and check all the papers. You must make sure all the boxes were ticked. You are the pre-takeoff auditor in charge. If you haven't done the course, you wouldn't do that. If you're lazy and you don't do that, remember, what you do or not do is going to come back at the end of the day. Oh, if we get away with it, it's fine. Yeah, it's super cool. Guys and girls, I'm not pointing a finger at you. All the fingers point to me. I was just lucky. And I intend to stay lucky, but anyway, pilot is not a heli instructor rated. Why is that reference? This guy's got 10,000 fixed wing hours. He's a grade 2 instructor on fixed wings. But when it comes to the testing of the helicopter, you need to do auto rotations. And if you need to do auto rotations, the first time that we teach you to cut the engine on yourself is when we do it on an instructor's course. Maybe at some schools they allow you to do that, but that's actually when it takes place. The dynamics and the spread of getting everything working out in the cockpit is way more complex. If you've got to cut that, you've got to have it at that minimum speed, you've got to collective the RPM with a collective collect, and then you've got to recover. Okay. Moi, nah. He wasn't qualified. He was not qualified to do that. But he's the only guy. Well, pilot did not know the procedures for accepting the air vehicle, all right? And where I call it air vehicle there is some of you, like I, and we're flying helicopters and fixed wing. There's no difference between the two. The procedures are the same. The law states the same requirements. Yeah, but it doesn't particularly say that if you're flying in a helicopter, it must be in a helicopter. There's stupid arguments and there's good arguments. Get yourself a good lawyer and he's going to, you're going to be rattled very quickly. Okay, so the next lesson is, remember now, don't just go out and grab the machine. You take full responsibility and accountability for the machine when you do a flying test or whatever. I'm not fighting with you. I'm just giving you damn fine advice. Hey, somebody grabbed me and says, hey, Charlie, do you know this? Okay. So that was the first time for me as well. Okay? So I'm just... pilot did not procedures, except in helicopter was marked as Victor 5, which Namibian registered prefix because the pilot didn't have a SA license. And this was the third test flight with evidence that the passenger, there was... You saw one of the videos now. It was somebody sitting in the back taking that video, and I'll show you a little bit more. I haven't got any footage of the actual accident because then there wasn't a passenger. Luckily, because the passengers really wouldn't have survived. It was not survivable. The sudden eruption of the chaos, according to the NCAA, the helicopter was in auto rotation when the accident happened. There is a lot of descriptions. There's about 2 eyewitnesses say, no, it was in the hover. Okay. Mechanically, the red pitch change rod came in because it was a 12-year and it had to be changed, and there was a bulletin out, and here I'm talking to the technical part now. The bulletin says, Robinson has created and made new pitching link rods. But the bulletin does not say that you must replace it with a new set. But if you contact Robinson, they haven't got any old sets in stock, so you're going to have to put a new one on. But nothing stops you to put something that has got a shelf life or an operational life left in the place. It's not a good idea, because now you mix and match and play and all that. Do you know what is the complication of doing all that stuff on the same aircraft? Who said here? You've got enough money to buy the damn thing, but you haven't got enough money to make it safe for yourself. You don't want to spend the money to get trained to make yourself safe. Hey, anyway, never mind. Here we go. Rotor rage. The breakup occurred as the red blade entered the cockpit. So this is what we can determine from the pictures and whatever we could see. As in flight, the red blade entered the cockpit. It severed everything in half. People, everything. Through there. So that was absolutely instantaneously devastating. And as the blade went through, it actually twisted through 90 degrees, slapped the tail, and ripped the tail off. Didn't cut through it, it ripped it off. And that was enough. After that, it didn't really matter, because what was falling down to earth was bodies and debris. All right, where were we? The helicopter was now destroyed. Okay, the energy transfer of the blades was fatal. Coming back to rotor rage. You are controlling a raging. I think it's a raging lion in a cage. I don't know. Think about a lion, put a couple of extra factors in there, let's say factor 10 or whatever, and then you're looking at the rage that you are containing, or trying to contain at least. Energy transfer of the blade was fatal. The blade flight path observed after the mast, and the reason for the mast. But hey, so I saw the thing, and they didn't. I said, but the result of this means there was mast bumping. Now, if you don't know what mast bumping is, you better find out, because the moment there's mast bumping, and normally that's when controls are missed, or when there is severe turbulence, but it could be that one of the pitch change rods decided to fail. Couldn't be proved. I'm just saying, once it is there, it's like a gyro, it will precess through 90 degrees, and it will go through the cockpit. It is then not your worry anymore. So we haven't found out the reason for the mast pumping. But that's not what I want to talk about. Because you see the shaking on the leg here. Why are the guys flying low? This is on the second test flight. There's a passenger in the back. One of the transgressions of a test flight. Listen now. Why do the guys fly so low? It's because we can. It's open. It's beautiful. There's not one of you that wouldn't do that. But if you take a passenger in the back on a test flight, you're crazy, because you take the full responsibility for that person's life. You are liable. I'm not saying it's murder, okay? But we'll whittle that down to a point where we're going to say that, okay, it's not premeditated and all that kind of stuff. But sorry, Your Honor, I didn't know. Well, okay. Emotional stress. This is the fallout. This is the entropy. Flight school lost its only instructor and had to close down. Administrative lady from the AMO was jailed for about a month, and she's now out of jail. I don't exactly know what's going on. The NCAA hasn't indicated if they are going to charge more people down the line. But I'm going to give you my opinion. There were so many people that transgressed the absolute, very clearly written law. Oh, Charlie, but be nice. Just forgive and forget. If it's my family have destroyed, I am not going to forget. Forgiveness is a state of mind. Forgetfulness is an eternity thing. Maar I'll do that nadat ek jou gebliksem het. But there's did I say that? Sorry, a little bit Cape Townian coming through there. The AMO was closed down. The business where he was flying, he was the only instructor on the fixed wing side. The business closed down. They now changed with microlights, and they're trying to get up again. It's in the middle of the desert. You don't have 70 pilots that want to come and fly there. They want to come and fly here. They rather would fly at Wonderboom, where they've got to spend half their flighting hour on the taxi and waiting to get airborne. They will rather fly there because the circuit, supposed to take 7 minutes, will take on average between 10 and 15 minutes. That's why it takes so long. Don't budget for 40 hours and 50 hours. Double it. Then we're closer to the capability that we should. Anyway, that's not why I'm here. But the emotions has now started into rage. Now, in a smaller community, when that happens, it becomes a very unhappy town. Everybody wants to sue everybody. Nobody has got money. Nobody wants to take on the cases because there's nothing to sue for. Now, NCA has not indicated, what they're going to do. I believe the following. If it is an error, you cannot attract punitive action. If it's a transgression, which means willingly and knowingly, you must be punished. And now I say, oh, Charlie, you can't say that in front of anybody. Listen, you go out that door and you drive over the speed limit, you're going to be slapped with something. Maybe a bribe, maybe a this, maybe a that, maybe a that, but you're not going to walk away from that scot-free. There is no such thing. Oh, yeah, but we'll go to court and determine if it's the first time. All right, try that. It's going to cost you so much money, you might as well just pay the damn fine. But pay, you're going to pay. Remember, we don't always pay in money or in a slap or whatever. But the worst part of I personally, for myself now I'm talking, I don't feel that a punishment for me to die is the ultimate. Because I wouldn't know. Or at least so I believe. I don't know, Nick thinks the same, but anyway. The point is, the people that are staying behind, the living is living the life. That's us. What are we going to do? So, if I say the takeaway is, what do you do or do not do right now will have a consequence. And you can see, and I wanted to bring that word entropy in, that what you do now must be focused. What will focus you? Your standard operating procedure. Oh no, but we do it every day. Those guys did it 3 times in a row, and the 3rd time they died. So everything they didn't do beforehand then became the mess afterwards. I still think it was a super guy. He was. Unfortunate. He would have made a damn fine chopper pilot. But To not be qualified to do a certain job, it's not a scandal, okay? To take a job you are not qualified to do is noticed. Now listen to this. And it makes you a criminal. Charlie, that's a bit rough. Well, okay. You can play with words if you wish, but then you are indebted to the holder of the knowledge of what you have done wrong. Accept a bribe from anybody and you're indebted to that person. Ask some politicians. They will tell you. You take the bribe, you're indebted. You do the rubbish, people see. The memory of the aviation fraternity is not short. It's long. Andre and Lunel, they're running this massive business. Do you for one moment think, if you've got a stain, that they would like to associate with you? I can tell you how many youngsters are not. Why do they do things like that? But we've got the professor here, and he's going to tell us later on, why do we do silly things like that? The problem with fools, that's just a statement. And I'm not trying to be philosophical. It will be a far stretch. But they always think they're right. You can go to anybody that's doing something right. No, but that's okay. Okay, fine. Always have the non-challengeable answer. You cannot argue with that. Because a fool do not argue, a fool just says that is right. And then they live, and I call it just in a secret, stupid little world where disorder is celebrated. And it's ruled by entropy. What do I mean by that? At Henley Air, you are working inside a space that is SOP, management driven, the oversight is right, the focus is right. There is entropy, but it's low. It's managed. There is nothing in this world that is not dangerous. The level of entropy is managed by professionalism. And later on, we haven't got time now, but the entropy cannot be nullified. But our SOPs keep us in a tolerable space of interacting with the unpredictability of the real world. The moment that you think you're bigger than the deal, you're done. So, a lot of people say, what do you want to say to people? Hey guys, really, the one thing that I've learned is, if it tells you you can't do that, then don't do that. If it says you must go via there to there, do that. If you've discovered something new, realize that there's a red flag and that you are probably got alien blood in you, because we would have known that. So it's either you're alien or you're wrong. I doubt if you're alien, so I know that you are wrong. But you've got to make it up in your mind as well. Don't end up to just be another old, lucky, stupid fool. People flying helicopters, you are opening your rib cages on a daily basis. You are working with energies beyond imagine. Why? Why would you ever not do the best for yourself? Sir, I don't own you your life. I own myself and my family. Thanks.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you so much, Charlie, for that insightful message. One cannot help, when you look at the political spectrum, realize the chaos that's going on. Maybe the energies there are a bit more than in the helicopters at the moment. Are there any questions that you would like to ask Charlie?
The accident, I'm trying to cut that out of my mind, but it's approximately 6 months to 8 months ago. And the final report is out. And they had, remember, you've only got, 30 days to put in an objection. Because the information that got out, the arguments, are definitely not what, from a value point for us, later on is not important. But the facts, there's so many facts missing. And later on we're going to say, okay, what are those facts? So remember, if there's a thing that you want to go back with in 30 days, and the next thing I said to them, if you want to scratch on this, to what end do you want to do that? If there is something that you can take out of this that is valuable, pursue it. Otherwise, wind your neck in and carry on. Sorry, just a personal thing.
So just to confirm, when they changed the registration, had they had a C of A? The C of A had obviously long been expired.
The aircraft is still registered in South Africa. The interesting thing here is that the owner of the aircraft carries a certain burden on the thing. So the registered owner is a South African one, but there's the invoice that was paid and the aircraft was delivered that side. So you've got a non-registered owner sitting on the other side. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it just...
So legally he wasn't allowed to fly it anyway then?
No. They changed the tail number so that the pilot was happy because he had a Victor 5 license.
But they just stuck a sticker on, didn't they?
That's all. It's... Look, if you get away with stuff like that, it's cool. And everybody is happy, and the new owner will shake your hand. Maybe, I don't know. But everybody is, well, I don't want to touch this. Not with a barge pole. In fact, they haven't invented a long enough pole to stick away from, or to stay away from this one. Sorry, sir. Question?
So the blade went straight through the... Sorry, just to clarify, did the blade go straight through the cockpit? The main rotor blade?
Yeah, what happens is, and we've had a few accidents in South Africa where mast bumping happens. Now, mast bumping normally means, because remember now you're looking at an absolute ferocious gyroscopic element at the top. And when there's mast bumping and you transfer that power into the gyroscope, it will change its path and then take effect 90 degrees. So if the bump is there, it's going to take effect here. And then the blade, that energy is so high, it just takes it. And there's nothing that can stop it. It just literally sliced off the nose of that helicopter. In the beginning, the photographs where it's lying there. And I didn't want to, too long on it, but it really sat in. And now we've got a big case in Australia where somebody is suing but they were in severe turbulence and they also had mast bumping and it cut it off. In South Africa, we had the one IF sortie Oh yes, we're not doing too badly. Last year there was 154 accidents lodged in South Africa, of which 4 is helicopters. None critical. But they blame they're running out of power. The SACA, about this accident.
It's a Zulu Sierra machine.
Nope. It's over the border, outside our jurisdiction. We don't know it, we don't want to know it, we don't want to know nothing about it. No, they're taking the right stance, because why would you get into a legal battle or chaos if that's away from you? No, over the border, remember it was exported. So the fact that it is registered doesn't really carry that. If you sell your aircraft tomorrow and it's still on your name, so-and-so can insure it and be paid out when you do the right things with your insurance. In this case, the insurance is not going to pay out. They are struggling to pay out for anybody. And there was a lot of criticism about the lady that was sitting with him. He was an appy. No, he wasn't qualified. But at an AMO, you can sign out. This is an appy under supervision, and he's working there. And he was okay. I read these naughty remarks on this youngster was at the right place at the right time to die. Yeah, wrong time. Okay. But he was doing what he was. Okay. So it's pure energy, gyroscopics, and then obviously aerodynamics. But once the destruction goes through that rotor, then you understand the unleashing of utmost rage.